Recording has started.
Thank you for everybody joining us here in the room, also virtually as well. It is now 8:04. We will call the meeting to order. The first item of business is to allow for public comment for items not appearing on the agenda. We do know that there will be folks who are interested in offering comments for the outdoor recreation. We do have that on our agenda. It's under old business, item B. So if you'd like to make public comment there, we'll ask you to wait until then. If there's any public comment for items not on the agenda, again, we'll offer the opportunity to do that this time. Public comment. Seeing and hearing none, we will go to an approval of our minutes from our last meeting held in October. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any final discussion needed on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion is carried. Okay. We're going to turn it over to our warden now for our monthly reports. Good morning, Warden.
Good morning, everyone. Just to put things in perspective, my deputies may have to leave a little bit after 9. We have a training at the Penn Stater. I'll stay behind if it exceeds. I'm at that point, just letting everybody know that. Starting off with returning citizen services report, Center County Mental Health, Amy Miller. A year ago, she's seen 8. This past October, she's seen 16. Crossroads, drug and alcohol, they meet 4 times per month. 14 male returning citizens and 6 female returning citizens. The mental health group meets 4 times per week. 7 male returning citizens and 6 female returning citizens. Center County Compass Program, they meet 4 times per week for the last 4 weeks. The male group has 18 with 4 peer supports. Female has 10 with 1 peer support. Compass graduation were 2, 1 female, 1 male. Center County Decision Points Programming, they meet 1 time per week for 4 weeks. They have a male group at this time, 5 returning citizens. Decision Points for graduation for October were 2 females. Work release and community reentry workers, this is the monthly totals that were available for these allocations. Centerpiece was 7, county maintenance was 5, grounds was 1, work release was 5. A year ago, work release had 1.
Chris, quick interruption. Great job with Centerpiece. As I remember, it used to be 0, 1, or 2. So
we're feeding as well.
It's tremendous.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're starting to open up and getting there. So. Yeah. Our Center County population snapshot of October 31st, 2022, total count that day was 171. Out of 171, 121 was from Center County, 23 females, 98 males. Out of the 120, unsentenced was 67, 14 females, 53 males. County sentence was 41, 7 females, 34 males. State sentence were 13, 2 females, 11 males. Out of the 171, we had Tennant County of 50, 24 females, 26 males. Out of the 50, unsentenced is 32, 20 females, 12 males. County sentence 16, 3 females, 13 males. And state sentence were 2, 1 female, 1 male. Our population graph for the October, blue line is Center County. The orange line is Tennant County inmates. We start off with 45 in Tennant County. At the end of the month, we have 51. Our Center County population started out at 115, and we kind of went up to 121, but it's pretty level across the month. Our Center County unsentenced population on October 31st, 2022, new charges only, we had 31 males, 5 females, with a total of 36. Probation and parole only were 11 males, 5 females, a total of 16. Probation, parole with new charges were 8 males, 2 females, total of 10. As the number comes down, our unsentenced population is males 50, females 12, total 62. Continuing on with our service report, behavior modification status, we have 4 on Tier 0, and we have 1 out in Tier 1, and we have 9 in general population. Our co-occurring disorder, a year ago we had 14 out of 88 intakes. This past October we had 26 out of 79 intakes, comes out to 32.9% of our intakes. Out of the 26, 16 were on or have not refilled their medications upon intake. Out of the 26, 16 were from center, 10 for females, 6 males, 10 from out of county, 6 females, and 4 males. Suicide watch a year ago was 17. This past October was 17. 11 from center, 3 females, 8 males, 6 from out of county, 4 females, 2 males. Suicide detox, a year ago was 0. This past October, 5, 4 from center, 2 and 2, 1 from out of county, and that was 1 male. Detox total a year ago was 22, 18 from center, 4 from out of county. This year was 20, 12 females, 18 males. Out of the 20, 13 was from center, 5 females, 8 males, 7 from out of county, 4 females, 3 males. Our substance detox by the numbers, heroin and opioids was 1 from center county, fentanyl was 3, 1 from center and 2 from out of county. Benzo were 2 from center, meth is 3, actually it's 4, I apologize, it's 2 from center and 2 from others. We have alcohol is 2, should be from center, and Suboxone is 1 from out of, or actually 5, and they were from out of county at that time. We have our 7 for multiple. We have 1 benzo meth from center, heroin meth from center, heroin benzo fentanyl from center, heroin meth fentanyl from center, and 1 from out of county. Benzo meth Suboxone is 1 from center, and 1 heroin benzo meth from other. Our FIMAT, we had 1 receive his first injection in October. We're up to 29 injections for our FIMAT MAT program. Hospital, we had 1 for 5 days for neurological issues. Our COVID testings, we have 281 was negative, positive we have 0, recovering is 112. Asymptomatic, we have 3,370 testings that were negative and 0 positive, and recovered was 158. Total seen by physician or PA a year ago was 116. This past October was 117. Medical transport to outside physicians last year was 14. This past October was 11. Mental health clinicians, individuals seen a year ago was 239. This past year is 234. Psychiatrists a year ago was 77. This past October was 27. Mental health patients on psychotropic medication a year ago was 110. Our ADP at that point was 196. So out of 110, out of 196 comes out to 56.1% of our population on psychotropic medication. This past October was 98 out of an ADP of 164, comes out to 59.8% of our population. The daily average patient diagnosed with mental health is a total of 110 out of 164 ADP. A year ago, category C was 115, 58.7% of our population. Category D was 20, 10.7% of our population. This past October, category C is 103, 62.8% of our population. Category D, 14, 8.5% of our population. Mental health stability rating for the entire population, as we're looking at stability code A is 23, stability code B is 22, stability code C is 98, stability code D is 13, as a total of 155, and we had a waiting placement was 4. Our mental health stability rating by county, starting off with stability code A, blue is Center County, and the more orangish color, salmon color, is the out of county. Starting stability code A, Center County is 17, 17 males. Out of county was 3, 3 males. Stability code B is 18, 16 males, 2 females. Out of county was 5, 3 females, 2 males. Stability code C, Center County 69, 50 males, 19 females. Out of county was 34, 20 males, 14 females. Stability code D is 9, 8 males, 1 female, and stability code D for out of county is 6, 4 females and 2 males. The inmate grievances a year ago was 12. This past year was 22. Non-grievable 1, found it was 0. 8 was grievable. 1 was found it. 1 was to the first appeal, which was not amended at that time. We had 13 refused. The grievable that was found it was a staff issue, which was corrected. Central booking number a year ago was 181. This past October was 234. We were up 53 total bookings. 11-7 processed 34, 7-3 processed 86, and 311 processed 114. We're done.
Okay. Thank you very much. Call for the board any opportunity to ask questions, comments on the warden's monthly reports. Any questions? Any online from our controller, Mr. Moser?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Offer the opportunity for public comment on any reports.
I've been following the fact that we're getting an addition to the hospital. But I am seeing that it doesn't look like there will be any additional mental health beds there. So I checked this week, the board meetings are not open to the public. And so my option is to write to the CEO, and I want to be sure that in this facility, 74% of the residents are in C and D code mental health. Is that right?
Well, technically, if you look at the numbers, it's 103 plus 14 comes out to 117.
Like
So,
71.3.
okay, 71.3% of the population here has a C or D code assigned to them. Okay. Want to make sure I have the numbers right.
And you're kind of referring to Penn Highlands, who's going in.
No, I'm
sorry.
referring to the new tower at Mount Whitney Health.
Nice.
They're adding beds, but from the information I've gathered, they're not adding any mental health beds. And I think that they should be there rather than be.
We all think that.
So anyway,
We're not
I'll let
arguing, we're
you know.
supporting you on that one.
I'll let you know what response I get from the CEO. It just seems to me like there's a better place for them to be.
Any other question? Yeah, Jen.
Thank you again for putting all these statistics out there. I still struggle sometimes when things don't add up. So the C and D is 117, but it said it was 100. I don't really care because the numbers are close enough for us to get the bigger picture. What I really want to ask about is the part about who had been on medication prior to coming in. Was that under the co-occurring disorder slide? And am I right in assuming that those are the people that would be targeted for the new MAT trial? Or am I not understanding correctly that, yes, only 16 were on or have not refilled medication upon intake? If you could just explain that sentence, that would be awesome.
So what that is this is the mental health individuals that are coming into our facility that are using illicit drugs to maintain their mental health instead of using their medication. So what they would be doing is they are on medication, it's prescribed medication, and Prime Care probably could chip in a little bit here. They were prescribed or they have not refilled their medication, but also they're using drugs as well. Okay, so it doesn't mean they're on an MAT program. They could be on an MAT program, but the co-occurring is because they have mental illness, they have medication, but they're also using illicit drugs to offset their accountability.
I see. So the medication for mental illness is not necessarily one of the
MATs or MOUNS
right.
programs.
Okay, I got you now.
Right.
Thank you.
I had a question. Gordon, could you go back to the slide of the population graph? I'm just curious now that we're past COVID, more or less, do you think that's going to be going back up or going back down? I know with COVID, I got the impression there was a trend towards having less.
I don't see for Center County population, I don't see it going much higher in a sense because the courts been doing a great job with getting people in, getting them through the court systems and so forth. So I don't see it. I mean,
I'm looking at it. Our numbers have been fairly consistent. Last 5 years, they were significantly higher. 6,
Pre-COVID.
7, and 8, 9 years ago. Having the current number of unsentenced without a probation hold, it's a good number. So, yeah, the numbers have been consistent, and actually the unsentenced population is pretty good.
Yeah, our sentence actually working with the probation, with everything. Once we start getting this, the program, let me try to find it here. Since we developed this really helped out probation, understanding where we can get people in and out a lot quicker. In the sense of if they get in, they can get them revocated and take care of things. So the court's been great. I can't say one thing. Working with Bernie, working with even Mr. Crowley, as well as all the ADs and the public defenders, and working with the judges and the MDJs. I think we really have a nice collaboration. We just had a judges meeting on Tuesday, which was great. We discussed a lot of different cases that we like to see pushed on sooner than later. And the judges were really open about seeing that, looking at their schedules and so forth. So I mean, the collaboration is great. You couldn't ask for a better collaboration right now in any counties.
Yeah, to have 19 people on probation hold,
No.
that's remarkably low. My preference is if somebody's going to get revoked from probation, that they actually be sentenced, so that they can have access to work release services and move forward, as opposed to just sit there in a perpetual, what the heck is going to happen. So those numbers are great. The actual people in jail have been pretty consistent, and it's significantly lower than it was 7 years ago.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from our guests joining us today on the monthly reports? Any others in the room? Any others virtually? Any questions on the monthly reports? We're hearing none. Oh, please, yeah.
Perhaps some of the people of the Prison Society are aware in Center County, we've had 11-year-long push to have as few people incarcerated as possible. Commissioner Pike was playing a spark plug for that effort. We've reached the point now where most of the counties that surround us, so similar geography, have 1/2 or even 1/4 of our population. They have as many, in some cases more, local inmates in their facilities than we do. And they don't host massive football games 7 times a year. So, congratulations to everyone involved. I mean, the judges, the district attorney, the probation department, all the staff here at the correctional facility, the 80 to 90 volunteers that we have from a couple of dozen different groups here in Sutter County that make a huge difference for both the returning citizens when they're here and for the release. Our recidivism rate, Chris, is running in like the low 20 percentile at this point.
I would have to run that for you. I don't want to speak
Last
out of
time we
turn.
looked, that's where it was.
Yeah, it was low.
The original number from the state of PA was 50%. I know it's dropped recently. But we've got a lot of people committed here to helping incarcerated individuals and ensuring that once we have them return, they don't come back. We do not want them coming back.
Right.
I think that's everybody's goal.
That is everybody's goal. And so thanks again to all the volunteers who make a huge difference here. We have dozens of different activities for the returning citizens. I was chatting with a couple of the different volunteers, and they said when they visit other county prisons, there are no optional activities, or there's like 1 or 2 different things they can pick from. Here it's dozens. I'm sure for some of the returning citizens, it's like, well, what should I do next? Because there's so many great programs. I know Connie had the new program with the families that's been very well received. So lots of great stuff happening here, due in significant part to volunteers.
Thank you, Commissioner. We will now head into our own business. We're going to start with our COVID-19 operation.
All programs are back in place, in person, everyone. So just to echo of Commissioner Higgins as he talks about programs, even our surrounding counties, our similar counties of our size and even larger counties do not have as many programs as we do here at Center County. This is a lot of outside volunteer work. This is a lot of time working with Penn State, and just working with anybody that wants to bring a program in here. We're doing Ridgeline's Language Arts Storytelling Program for women's inmates right now. That's going through. We just finished up Leadership Center County, which was a big success. We were all kind of a little worried about that with Kathy and Zach. Zach did a great job. They incarcerated individuals have not talked so well with somebody and for a while, and because it's been COVID and our program's been virtual and everything else, and by bringing them back in, they're gaining that interactions with our society again, and that's what our main goal here at the jail is getting them reunification with their families as well as with the community and the leadership. Center County, when Zach came in there, he got them to understand about the communities in Center County, because some of them didn't even know some things, and maybe Kathy will speak on that when it's her turn. But it was a great class, and I gotta admit, I'm anxious to set up another one for Zach to hold as well with the female population at that point. But everything it's up there is back in person. There are some that they do a split center safe. They do the phone calls right now. If they need to come in person, they will come in person, but that is their choice. I think yoga is going to be a split. Some of them wants to come in, and some of them is going to do virtual, and we're fine with that. We're willing to work with them. We still have the equipment. We're still going to do virtual. So anybody any program wants to come in and they want to virtual instead of in person, we're fine with that. But we're going to leave that up to them at that point. Programs, videos and still Access Church. And then process and reviewing is wellness recovery. We're still looking into that for both returning citizens and staff members. Our vaccines was October 10th. It was our 18th COVID vaccine for the clinic. A total of 23 vaccines given. Moderna was first dose was 4, second was 6, booster was 2. Pfizer first dose was 3, second dose was 6, and booster was 3. Our next vaccine is the 19th. It'll be next week sometime, and then I'll report on that in December. It is today. Okay, it is today. Okay, it is in the second week. So we'll report on it next month at that point. And that's it for that report.
Prison board members, any questions, comments? Any questions, public comment on the operations and vaccine windows? Hearing none. Okay. Our next item is going to be for outdoor recreation. We're going to turn it over to the warden. Before I do that, warden, I just want to make some comments to set the stage for this. So we as a prison board wanted to put this on the agenda as an official item. We've had, and we are appreciative of the public comment that's been offered over the last, this actually goes back about a year now, and really appreciate the comments in terms of outdoor recreation and learning that's happening from each side in terms of goals that we're each trying to achieve. So we wanted to set some time up for this, but this allows us as a board of inspectors to come to a consensus on the way forward, but it also allows members of the public that are still advocating for certain changes to be able to know the framework that they're working in. So it gets us all on the same page. So the warden's going to go through that presentation. The board may talk a little bit about this after the warden's done. We may ask him some questions. Then at that time, after we're done with our discussion, our consensus, we'll be able to offer a public opportunity for comment. And everybody will have about 5 minutes to make their comments. Again, we'll turn it over to the warden. Thank you, Chris, for putting this together.
Thank you, sir.
Just jump
Yes,
in.
please. Yes, please.
I got a telephone call regarding an accidental death at 8:30. I'm serious, I knew this was on the agenda. I'm going to step outside and take it. I'll be back.
Oh, sounds good.
I just didn't want people to wonder why I was walking around.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Center County Correctional Facility outside recreation accreditation since 2005 from the Department of Corrections Office of County Inspection and Services. We received 8 full compliance inspections, 2006, 2008. What's that? 2006, 2008, 2010, 12, 14, 16, 18. We were supposed to have one in 20, of course. Everybody knows what happened there. COVID hit, no inspections, but we were prepared. All of our paperwork was submitted to the state. And then they came back in 2022, and we passed with full compliance at that time. Center County Correctional Facility has been and currently in full compliance with all PA and constitutional law. 37 PA CAS 95, 65 PA CAS 5901 AB 1, 28 CFR 551.115 B 1. Statutory and constitutional requirements that incarcerated individuals have the right to at least 2 hours of daily physical exercise in the open, weather permitting, and upon such days of which the weather is inclement. And there's Title 37 where it's listed 65 as well. Physical exercise must be safe and practical. Bureau and Beard was a law case that was in 2012. CCF has exceeded such requirements as recreation area permits access to fresh air, natural light, and the ability to exercise large muscle. The case law recognized the Warden's Board's broad decision over matters of recreation, where the 2 hours of exercise takes place is committed to the Chief Administrator's discretion and depends upon the weather. PA Department of Corrections, Office of County Inspection Services, Department interprets the spirit of Chapter 95, or Title 37, Chapter 95.238 to require inmates to provide opportunity for the large muscle exercise with access to natural light and fresh air. Urban recreation yards is a very broad term to describe the physical security of the recreation area. Urban recreation areas have a long-standing history in correctional institutions construction throughout the Commonwealth County facilities and is accepted correctional principles at the national level. 48 Pennsylvania counties have a county correctional institution with an urban recreation yard, 18 of which are covered, provided access to natural light, fresh air through varied designs, open portals. Only 14 of Pennsylvania County Correctional Institutions has an exterior recreation yard. National exceptions of the urban recreation yard design. Allegheny County is one of the only county correctional institution in the Commonwealth that is American Correctional Institution ACA accreditation, which have urban recreation area. This is what our recreation looks like, and there's many across the state that's been built this way, similar this and that. As I mentioned, the Center County Correctional Facility was built with these intention. I wasn't here when the operations was being created at that time, or architects was being designed at this time. But the jail was made for this way to help out with staffing. By opening up and just get it straight, I'm not opposed to outside rec. I ran outside rec in the 90s and early 2000s in New York. We changed from outside rec to urban yards. And where we're located is in York was a very large plot of land with that sense. What this does is it's more secure than an outside rec yard. It is adaptable. People are allowed to have more rec time while they're here instead of outside rec, because when you have inclement weather, you have rain, and weather gets below a certain temperature, they can't use the outside rec. That's just the way things are, because it's unsafe at that time for them to go out. Second thing is we're looking to go outside rec. Like I said, this is not administrative duty. This is what the boards, and we've talked with the board. Whatever direction they want my team to go in, we will go in. However, it will be a financial impact to the county long term, just not the initial. You're looking, right now we're barely getting up to staff minimums. If we do open up an outside rec yard, we're going to need at least 2 to 3 rec yards because of our keep separates, due to our female housing units and our various other housing units that can't be housed with other individuals at that point. We would need a minimum of 9 to 15 officers additional full-time to run outside rec for that. So that's what I have. Practicality, adding that many staff when we can't even get up to complimentary, we wouldn't be running outside rec right now as it is. It wouldn't be feasible because we don't have staff. So we would have a rec yard just be sitting there. So practicality, I don't see that feasible here at the county level. But anything else?
Thank you, Gordon. We'll start off some questions and just, so if you could go back to the one slide earlier. So just one slide after that. The listing of the 848, 14, I think that was the third slide.
That's the first one.
No, the slide right before the pictures.
Sorry, that's right. And one more, there we go. So when it says 48 have an urban recreation area, the urban recreation area is what we have, or no?
Similar to what we have. Some of them, what they do is have the ceiling has a fence across it. Okay. Some of them are in a concrete, like if you have a housing unit and it's shaped like a triangle, in between that would be a rec yard. What they call an urban yard would be concrete with nothing over top of it at that point. And then the problem with those is the sun beats down on there. Once the temperature gets above 85, they don't allow them outside rec. Once it gets below 36, they do not allow them outside rec due to the ice freezing on the cement and so forth, and they're not allowed. So they're not used as much, so they don't get wrecked that day, because that's their only urban yard to have.
So the 18, we fall into the category of 8.
Correct.
18 of which, that's what we have. There are 14 other Pennsylvania County Correctional Institutions that have the outdoor recreation.
Like that.
Okay.
Yep, just like that with the open gate, with fresh air and sunlight and so forth.
So in terms of the amount of rooms that we have, that the picture indicates, how many do we have here at the correctional?
Every,
One in each block, right?
one in each block, correct, yes. Besides C units, C units does not have that.
So that would be 6.
That would be six in our hard cells, correct.
So in terms of the way that the facility was built, this is a point that we often put forward is this facility was starting to be considered in 1998, 1999. Studies done, and then eventually the Board of Commissioners from 2000 to 2003 borrowed the money, voted in favor of the prison, and it's been built years since then. But still, we inherited it. It's a facility that we utilize and we take ownership of. But the way that the actual facility was planned out would make it very difficult to get an additional 6 outdoor rec yards. And just thinking through this way, would we be essentially looking at from each of those outdoor rec yards, the 6 we have now, would we be building outside of those? In terms of that, I mean, where would be the options to put it?
The only option you would have is when you're looking, and if you, I wish I should have put up the plans, but to expand out this facility, say we would be max capacity and we would have to expand because of we're housing people on the outside. Just scenario. The extension is to be built straight out the back door. And that's why the solar panels didn't come over as far as they did because of the pre-existing. If we would have to, I don't see that in the near future, but down the road, if they would have to add on, it goes straight back. Now there's part of lands over here, but that's our geothermal drill well that you cannot build on top of, because if we have any issues with our geo, that means they got to rip up the fence, they got to rip up the yard and everything else. You're not permitted to build anything on top of the geothermals there. So it would only be straight back what you have, which you're looking, if we're looking at 3 different yards and 2 different towers and everything else, you're only looking at possibly 30 feet wide of an area, probably about 30 feet. So you're not looking at a big area that you're thinking it's going to be very narrow and long. And that's the only way I can see it, unless we're going to rip out our solar panels. And I don't think that's going to happen because we're saving a lot of money with those. So yeah, so that's where we're looking at, would be back behind the jail. And you put your 2 fences up because you have to have 2 fences for security reason. And that's so that's where it would have to be.
Last question from me. Have any other counties within Pennsylvania, county correctional facilities, institutions, built on to their facility after constructing it with the interior urban rec yard and exterior one? Has any of them?
So I can speak on York County. So when we started with York County, our population is 300. We had when I started a year after, they expanded to our newer part, which was called cross halls areas of 3 units. At that time, they made those as the building was built hallway here, and then the unit went this way, so they had their yards inside there. So they went from outside rec to the cement yards. When we did another expansion, I'm trying to think, in late 90s, right around 2000s, we went with a Delta and Echo and our dormitories, which have exactly what we have as their dormitories for their rec yard with their gates. And then when he did another expansion for the last expansion called the M Block, they went the same way with the dormitories with the adjacent urban rec yard. So I know that for sure because I've been in those plannings and that's how it worked. They did away with the outside rec and brought everything into urban. It was downsizing staff and so forth at that point. We didn't need as many people in the rec yard for that. Just 1 on the roof and 2 at the door at that point. I don't know if Mel can
I would
speak.
say I don't know of anybody adding 2 once they've done this. The latest jails in the state were built just before us, and then 3 after. So it went 2003, 5, 7, 9, and 11. There were 5 jails in a row, and they all have what we have, more or less. One jail didn't put the garage door. It's just an open gate, which means in the winter they almost never use their rec yard because there's no way to stop the snow coming in. The next jail that's looking to be built will be Lancaster County, and we haven't seen the layout plans for that yet. It's probably going to open in the next 3 to 4 years. But all of the most recent built in the aughts and after, have been just this kind of urban area with nothing in terms of what we would, grass and field and open air, that kind of thing.
Just one more final comment, I'll open it up to other members that can make discussions. We also, within the last 5 years, have made significant investments, hundreds of thousands of dollars into our air system here. But an additional handler on the roof, because it was quite hot in the summertime. I don't think it was getting too cold in here, but it was not built as large as it should be, and that was put in recently. So at least the climate in here is a lot more comfortable for the staff and also the incarcerated.
With that, they actually increased the intake from outside air into the general population housing. Just want to add that when they added that.
And, I think it was $500,000 potentially of that overall ESCO project that we did across the county. It was a major investment here. We did recognize that it was something that should be improved. So we are willing to look at things that may improve the operations and the overall well-being here. But in terms of the practicality of it, we sometimes run into roadblocks for that. That's when we look at elsewhere in terms of the other the work release, the other programs that we have here that the board showcases. We really do try to find other opportunities for that, to have individuals outside. And ultimately, the ultimate goal is to, again, not have people return. So set them up for success once they're released with a wide variety of new opportunities that they can have after being incarcerated. So I'll end my comments there. We'll go around the table here and offer opportunity for the controller and the district attorney wants to feedback.
So, Chris, serving on statewide boards with other county commissioners, I know there's 67 counties in Pennsylvania, and there are 48 that have something vaguely like what we have. There are 14 where it's a totally outdoor rec yard. That's only 62. Are those 5 counties, they either close their correctional facility or they want no part of running a jail?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the numbers add up then. There's 67 counties. 5 are like, we don't want to run a jail. We want somebody else to have that headache. And so the overwhelming majority of the remaining 62 county-run correctional facilities in the state have something vaguely like our design. Melanie was mentioning that of the 5 or so prisons that have been built in the last 22 years, all of them use roughly this design. And I'm thinking, first, I don't know where we'd find 15 more corrections officers. We've been working really hard just to keep the facility staffed. Next, it's Pennsylvania. Even from Pennsylvania, we're close to I-80 where the weather is extremely variable. And so you're saying whenever it's over 85 degrees outside, if you have a exterior recreation area, nobody's using it. If it's raining, probably nobody's using it. If it's below 36 degrees, nobody's using it. I'm an avid outdoor exercise person, and I would say that maybe half the days of the year or more meet that definition. If you could move to the picture, you can't quite see it, but the couple of rec yards I've toured, that's a very large garage door. And even though it looks like windows there, as I remember, it's actually a very broad mesh.
Yes, it is a broad mesh.
Almost chain link size to the point where small birds fly in and out of the window. So we do actually have very small wild animals.
We have 2 of them in our A1 right now.
Yeah.
Handballs will go out through them.
Oh, really?
If they hit them just wrong or just right, however
They
you want to do
literally
that.
just live in there. Wow.
Well, our maintenance we try to get them out, so.
I know.
But we try.
Capturing wild birds, not an easy thing to do. All right, I just wanted to re-review that. So what we do is standard practice. It's not just standard practice, it's standard practice for all of the newer facilities, newer, counties. We don't do a whole lot of construction if we can avoid it. So it's everyone that's been built's been like this. And a major reason is probably because if you have a totally exterior outdoor recreation yard in the middle of Pennsylvania, you'll be lucky to use it half the days. Whereas what we have, because we have the garage doors, if the weather's decent enough, we can open the door, we open the door. But at least you still get outdoor rec time, pretty much every day of the year.
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah, about 10 or 11 hours a day for the general population that are attached to those, that they can
Right.
just freely go use that.
And then you were mentioning that because of the fact we're a bit landlocked now, we don't want to tear down the solar array, we don't want to put out a lot of improvements on top of the geothermal field. What's left isn't actually all that large once you consider you're going to need a double level of fences, you're going to need security, you're going to need walkways. We end up with like 3 outdoor rec yard areas where the rec portion of it probably wouldn't be that much bigger than this room. If you say it's going to be 30 by 30, because I think that might be 30. I think this direction's a little less than 30.
It could be less.
So, but roughly. Okay. All right. Just wanted to review that. Thanks, Chris.
Well, I have a perspective, I think, looking around this room that nobody else has. In 2003, I was elected to the Board of Commissioners, and I was the board that inherited the design of this facility, and was responsible for the construction of it. And one of the conversations that occurred back at that time was, how does this work? How are we within compliance? Are we doing all the things we should be doing? And at that time, well, we couldn't really change the design, and it was already let out for bid. It was clear that we were within the bounds of all legal obligation for the rec yards. That being said, I'm looking now. I remember when we took over this facility, one of the arguments was that at that time we had a very small county prison behind the courthouse in Bellefonte, which held 70-some inmates at the time. We were shipping a lot of inmates out to Clinton County and perhaps other facilities because we did not have housing. So we desperately needed this facility. At that time, there was a lot of opposition to the construction of this facility in the state that it's in, because they were saying that it costs over $1 million a year to send our inmates to Clinton County. I look now at our budget, and we are spending, and this is a conservative estimate, but don't hold me to it, but just looking, probably $165 a day to house our inmates here. And if you look at a $10 or $11 million budget, I think we've made a considerable effort to not only provide programming and opportunities, but I think we have a facility that I would say is probably not maybe state of the art at this point, but pretty darn good. And at this point, I would suggest that although we can have this conversation at some point in the future, $11 million a year or closing in on that is a significant investment from our citizens in this facility. And quite frankly, I don't know that we can afford to do anything at this point to change any design, even if we had the opportunity to. And I think we've had that discussion about it. But I just wanted to bring the numbers up, because when you're spending $60,000 a year for an incarcerated individual, and a very astute observer said you could probably send somebody to a pretty good school for that number. I'm looking at what the obligation of we as government officials and taxpayers, and looking at what we've got here. And I'd say at this point, we're doing pretty darn good with the programming that we have and the opportunities we have within this system.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll look to see if Controller Moser would like to make any comments at this time.
Sure, thank you, Mike. I did have some questions, but actually through the other discussion and conversation, they were actually answered, so I don't have any questions. And I did just want to note that I think this presentation and the context that the warden provided is important to understand in the approach of this issue. And I think having it presented publicly is also important as well for the transparency around this issue, and to make it known of what the thought process behind the current facility is and the challenges of adding to the outdoor recreation at the facility. The warden talked about the staffing alone to get to that point and the number of spaces required. And I think that's just something, especially for, let me speak for myself as a newer member to the Board of Inspectors. It's 3 years now, but, it's just 3 years total. It's something that, hasn't really been discussed too fully over that 3 years up to this past few months or so. And so I think even for myself, getting that context and understanding around it is important. So I certainly, hopefully it's as appreciated and to the public as well, that what we do have and the challenges in expanding upon that at this point. But that's just my comments there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Controller. We went around the table to offer comments about the outdoor rec. We know you had to leave, so certainly not bring up to speed. If there's anything you'd like to offer, the warden can give a quick overview.
I kind of think I know what he talked about. My thoughts on it are, I realize the cost and limitations that we have with our current structure. I get that. Previous life, clients in the jail have been there for quite a long time, and to say it's less than ideal is an understatement. Hung up there for 6 or 12 months, whether it be on cash bail or whether it be on a probation hold. And so we have the realities of what we have. When I look at our numbers, and this month's numbers on who's in there in pretrial incarceration are as good as they've ever been. I'm actually surprised that there's only 35 people that are in there with charges on bail. That's a ridiculous thing. What I would say is that an outdoor rec is a long-term issue, that there are short-term opportunities where you can actually give folks, you can have folks where they're not just locked up. I look at, there's 50 people that are unsentenced. That means that 2/3 of the population is already sentenced, which means that there can be creative solutions that have them in places and things where they earn the ability and the right to be on literally looking at sunshine during the day. And I can say that when 6 years ago, I'll go back, I'll give you some history of the work release that we had at the jail. Judge Brown, who was here for literally a lifetime, we had that small jail at the top of the hill. Maybe you drive by the courthouse, you'll see this cinder block building that actually goes down more than it goes up. And I forget what the number is, but maybe we had 90, maybe we had 100 people in there. And Judge Brown had to meet weekly just to review cash bail and sentences, either shorten sentences or release on bail because they physically didn't have the structure. And it might have been in the 70s that he told workers. And literally anybody who was sentenced was on work release. It didn't work perfectly. There were a lot of problems, but it worked. But what we had before my predecessor came in, we had the ability to earn good time. We had large parts of the population. Taken us 5 years to just start getting to the point where COVID had to get away. So I think creative solutions include creating opportunities that can be earned for that sentence population that address some of the issues. So those are some of my thoughts. An opportunity is there are 75 or 100 people who have been sentenced who just weren't on hold, so those are opportunities to have them. I know when you talk about work release and folks not wanting to work, we can't do that. But if there are security issues can be addressed, there may be opportunities. The ability to be doing things, quote, on the outside as opposed to without compromising security, without time. But that would be an opportunity. I see it. Structure we have now, we're stuck with it. Those are my thoughts on
They're very similar to you and others also as well. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. District Attorney. So we've heard from the board. I think there's a consensus where we're still open to opportunities that can, within their current confines, can allow for individuals to get outside, variety of means, work release, county maintenance, other opportunities, special opportunities that might be available. But in terms of the construction of the facility, that may be something that we're looking at this point. So that's the consensus. We're going to open it up to public comment to see if there's thoughts and suggestions beyond this. So we'll give everybody a 5-minute time frame, and then after public, and after that, if there's any change from the prison board, we'll certainly talk about that at that time. So we know there's many folks here, some online. So we're going to start with the folks in the room, and then we'll go to individuals that are joining us virtually. And so we would like to start off in the room here. And the only thing we'd ask is if you are willing to state your name and the municipality in which you live in here in town.
My name is Beth Baker. Been a local my whole life. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak this morning on this incredibly important issue of outdoor recreation all throughout our community. This is, after all, who the returning citizens are made up of, is it not? Our community, our mothers, sons, grandparents, our co-workers, our neighbors. Are these not the people who enter this facility, a corrections facility? What is a corrections facility if not to correct undesirable behaviors and help prevent people from making negative choices in the future? I believe that the only way for it to happen is for the returning citizens to be successful and healthy. Human beings require a few basic things to survive and thrive, sun and fresh air being two of them. Things we so easily take for granted every day. Two things that you just don't know how important they are until you have to try and survive without them. Having spent time myself at CCCF, I can speak of this firsthand. I've spent months on a cell block, both with and without outside work release. I've also been locked in solitary confinement for weeks of my life. I've also seen many of our community members showing the same. I've also seen the difference between those who have access to those two basic elements and those who sadly do not. What happens for someone mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically when their basic human needs are met is not only astonishing, it should be the easiest thing for all of us to relate to. Positive outcomes that can come from outdoor rec are truly endless. During my outside work release, I was given the opportunity to meet positively influential people who inspired me, believed in me, and helped set me up to succeed. The caring people in our community are your greatest untapped resource. Had I not been given these life-changing opportunities, the thoughts of where my path would have led me are too frightening and sad to think about. Every human being that enters through these doors, at the very least, should have their basic needs met in an acceptable manner. CCCF truly is a correctional facility, and this should be an achievable ask. Thank you so kindly for your time and attention.
Thank you for your comments. Please, yes.
Good morning. My name is Urban Moore. I work for Penn State University College of Education, Department of Restorative Justice Initiative. I'm 76 years old, probably older than anybody in this room. Great exception.
Usually we don't have arguments.
But I don't look 76 years old. People tell me this every day. I don't feel 76 years old. I tell myself this every day. And I'm serious about this. Truth. One reason for this is because 53 years ago, I met a man who was the superintendent. We called them wardens then. I heard them mention this young fella here, called him a warden. I said, do they still use that term? But I met a man, his name was Robert Johnson. He was the warden of Graterford State Penitentiary. I met him in 1969. He said, I was a young man then. He said, come in my office for a minute. Sit down. And then he says, you're new here. I want to tell you 3 things that we do to your benefit and to ours. We feed you well. They did in those days. Different time, different era. Every institution was self-sufficient. Farms and dairies and piggeries. Second of all, we give you a job and you work every day. You work. Third, we have a yard for you guys to go out and air and sun and rain and snow. So there was no such thing as inclement weather. We went out to the yard, regardless, and that's what we did. Because we had, we needed that as a part of life, the sunshine on your face. And of course, being young at that time, I made mistakes, and I found myself in the hole. And remember, I'm talking about 53 years ago. But the hole was a mattress on the floor, you're in there in your underwear, nothing else. Not even a light bulb in the cell. And there's a window placed up in the upper parts of the cell. And you did not want to go to the hole in the wintertime because it got dark soon and there was no light. You could not see your hand in front of your face. And there were no showers. There was no visitation. There was no books. And you got 2 pieces of bread and a cup of coffee for breakfast, 2 pieces of bread and a cup of coffee, black coffee, for supper. You got a lunch. That was the hole. And what I remember about that hole is black sunlight on my skin. Because we didn't have yard. Now I come here today to speak to you gentlemen and ladies regarding what I feel is a basic need that was understood by even the courts when they said an inmate should have at least 2 hours of recreation outside. Well, if you're in the whole restricted area, at least 1 hour a day. They saw the need, someone saw the need of this. We can go back far enough to realize the impact that isolation has psychologically on a human being. Because in the beginnings of the idea and concept of penitentiary as a place of penitence, we were put in isolation, away from the sun, away from the light. And you see what that did. That experiment was like. And I also understand what you gentlemen and ladies mean today about practicality, about understanding. And it is an issue that should not be overlooked. But have you asked your inmates, your incarcerated people, what they think about that? When I heard you mention some of the comments that were given by those folks regarding some of the programming that's come in, I mean, they speak highly of it. But have you told us what any of the inmates have said about the need for yard, the need for recreation, the need to be exposed to the sun? I did not believe it when I came to this beautiful county, this beautiful town, and someone says, you know, they don't have a yard at Center County Correctional Facility. I couldn't believe it. I said, come on, man, don't tell it. That is modern, progressive, technologically advanced as those folks are. They don't have yard. And it's true. My position is, I'm pleading to you. Understand the parameters that we're working within. But at least consider stepping outside of that any way you can. Any way you can, because what we have with the quote-unquote urban recreation areas is still not outside. I mean, it's still not, still in bloom. And they can have recreation, yeah, but it's not outside. And that's all I'm asking. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Cynthia Carpenter. I wasn't going to speak, and I'm not sure I should, because they were so eloquent on the need for outside. But I will say that people incarcerated should still get outside in inclement weather. I go by the rule, there's no bad weather, there's only bad clothing. There's coats, what's wrong with snow? You know, you can get outside. I also want to reiterate that the cell blocks do have slits, but they're not view windows. They are covered with diffusing light glass. So there isn't even a view to the outside. You know, there's the garage door that's up high, but you can't see outside. And my understanding, it isn't always up. I've heard, you know, that sometimes it'll be cracked open a little bit. My research with lighting is we have the electric light. We count on that. That is for our visual system. There is a whole biological component to the intensity, the angle of light, the color of light on the outside world that you cannot get at this point from electric light. There's a ton of research going on because there's major health considerations to consider with the lack of light. But there is a lot of research. It's complicated research because they can't quantify that direction easily, that color of the light, the intensity. And it is known that people do need a lot higher intensity light than is provided by electric light each day. It is recommended that you get out in the morning to set the circadian rhythms. I do see Bernie Cantorna out on the golf course. You know, he's getting his daylight in the morning. But it sets your circadian system that then sets you up for a deep sleep night that is restorative. And there's certain colorizations. I've read that between 8 and 10 in the morning, you should be outside at some point. It's some of the suspected and known situations with the lack of daylight. One is the sleep, insomnia. We all know about vitamin D, the necessity of vitamin D. The daylight, there's recordings that it increases our serotonin level, which would be very beneficial in an incarcerated situation. People without sunlight do suffer depression. I've just been reading about the Amish. They're low on cancer rate. And I've heard the cancer there's studies going on. It's not definitive. But the Amish are out during the day. They're, low level light at night, warm light, and darkness at night. They have, it's just that research is complicated. There's something going on with the cardiovascular system without daylight. That's negative. There's something going on with the mitochondrial system that is negative without daylight exposure. So giving the incarcerated the opportunity for outdoor recreation is a non-medicated, low-tech, I'll call it inexpensive way to aid in the restoration of the lives of the people who are returning citizens to our community. Giving the incarcerated outdoor recreation is the right thing to do.
Thank you. Any other public comment in this?
I'll just say that it's been at least 10 years that we've been talking about this, because that was one of the first issues that concerned me after I left the facility, was the fact that I was fortunate to have work release, but watched in the outdoor rec situation many individuals unable to be outside. I actually observed a woman sitting in the rec room and moving her position in order to get something. That we should not have to watch. So it's been at least 10 years that we've been looking at this. And I would urge you to do whatever possible to fix it.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Janet Irons, Business Society. Just a couple of things, stories that stay with me in spite of the passage of time. One is volunteers going into the jail to do programming and having the incarcerated people come in to the room where the programming was happening and rush over to the window, because it's the first time that they've been able to see sunlight or grass or something green in days or weeks. That's a memory that sticks with me very powerfully. I think another thing we cannot forget is that this facility was designed to provide outdoor rec for the people in work release. And that facility this facility is constructed so that that can happen. There are no barriers in terms of structure to creating a work release opportunity, except you're going to have to take the shed off of the basketball court that was put out there. So there are ways that incrementally we can begin to at least make the commitment and then continue to move forward as practical circumstances permit.
Thank you. All right, I think we're going to be going on to the virtual attendees, and once we get, if you wouldn't mind increasing the screen, Chris, to see them.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Pike, could I speak?
Yes, please. Yeah, we were trying to look for a list of attendees. Do you mind making it larger?
Yeah, I gotta stop sharing.
Okay, just 1 second. Mark. Okay, please go ahead.
Great, thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. I'm sorry I'm not there in person with you. I want to start by thanking the board and the warden for putting outdoor rec on the agenda. I spoke at the last board meeting in October, and I implored you to talk about this. And so I think this is really important, and I appreciate that. I want to extend my even greater appreciation, particularly to Beth and Irvin, who we've just heard from. And I'm hopeful that although the board has put out stances against outdoor recreation, you will listen closely, maybe go back and watch the video even of this and hear their words. And what I heard from the board, I heard a lot of economic talk, and I understand that. Economics is important. I didn't hear any moral talk. So I want to ask you to think about the moral and the humane context of this. And toward that, as you reflect on it, I want to mention a couple of conventions. So one is internationally, the UN Declaration of Human Rights, passed in 1948. Article 5 says no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. The UN Declaration on the Protection of All Persons from Being Subjected to Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, that's from 1975, has a huge host of stipulations. Might these declarations be relevant to this conversation? I think so, although we didn't hear any reference to that from the board. The U.S. Constitution, the 8th Amendment, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. That was adopted in 1791. The Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 13, adopted in 1873. Bail, fines, and punishments. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel punishments inflicted. The Pennsylvania Code, which the warden referenced, Title 37, Chapter 95, Section 238 on recreation. The warden talked about at least 2 hours daily physical exercise in the open, weather permitting. And the fourth item there is an inmates under disciplinary status or segregation shall receive 1 hour of outdoor activity 5 days a week. With Pennsylvania Code, I want to stress those are the minimum requirements. The minimum. We do not need to be at the minimum. So, you know, as the board says, well, only 14 counties have actual outdoor recreation. Why not, even if 0 had it, why not lead on this important human consideration? So I want to end with simply asking the board again to create a committee or a commission to investigate all the possibilities for outdoor recreation. As we just heard Connie say, this is a decade, at least a decade of a topic. And, you know, certainly this is long-term in the sense that you can't snap your fingers perhaps, but please don't see this as an endpoint. Please continue the inquiry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Custon. Is there anybody else on virtually who would like to make a comment? I want to make sure we don't miss anybody who would have attended. You can unmute yourself and offer comment at this time. I want to make sure we have, I believe it's an Addison, a Gus, and Marie Hamilton. Any comments from any of you? Okay, we're hearing none. Okay. Appreciate everybody's comments, personal, raw comments. We have looked at creative ways, as the district attorney said, to extending opportunities for outdoor rec. We have done that. We will continue to do that. Appreciate the consistent public comment on this. This has been something that individuals have continued to come back on us and stress with us. And I don't think we're ever going to take this off the table. I don't think that's ever going to be. We are always open to hearing different methods, ideas. Sorry, that was a previous public comment, 5-minute warning. But we're always open to opportunities that we may do that. I think that'll be a consistent thing. I don't know if there's a willingness right now to create a commission or a subcommittee to look at that currently. We will be, we again meet every month. If there's public comment, again, anybody can come for public comment and all for that. But I'll just check with, again, Controller Moser, who's virtual, with colleagues that are in the room. We do not have our judge representative here and our sheriff today as well. But the 5 of us do constitute a quorum. But hearing the consensus from us is still that we are not looking at doing an outdoor rec yard construction at this point, but still very much willing to continue to hear opportunities that we could expand opportunities for outdoor recreation for individuals that are incarcerated. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I just want to.
I really like district attorney's idea of potentially further widening work release and excuse me, other creative opportunities for incarcerated individuals to be outside the facility. So that's a good idea.
My personal opinion is that we used to have incentives for people who are in jail. They either shorten their time or they earn rights, they earn privileges, and then those. And it was previous warden, previous prosecutor. They no longer exist. My personal opinion is that I always look to the people in the room who know the most. Happens to be warden is one. Folks who've actually been inside are 2. And in the immediate future, which means maybe 12 months, I really do think we need to look at how we can meet those needs with what we have now. That is, clearly, we're not where we were. We're not where we were 6 + 8, 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, there was an incremental, or there was a monumental shift in the way the prison was run. And we're still only incrementally getting back to something that's better, and actually much better than it was before, because of all the programs that we have. That didn't exist. It really, really didn't. And so with the facilities that we have, what can we do with those 100 folks that are sentenced, which means they have privileges, what privileges give them, what work opportunities. You know, when I hear Mr. Moore say, well, we had to work, I'm thinking to myself, you know, well, geez, not doing something really isn't a very good choice either. I realize that there are limits on what the jail can tell folks they need to do, but sitting in a cell, watching cable or doing whatever, and choosing not to do something doesn't seem I lean towards the warden and the folks who are in there as to what opportunities they can. Got my full support on anything that gives privileges that can even earn good time that allows folks, it makes your job easier because when you've got incentives, your folks don't have to work as hard because they take a kid's cell phone away, all of a sudden they change their behavior. That's my feeling on those issues. And that's a 1 year opportunity. And I do agree that there has to be a long-term fix. It just has to. So we're going to have to spend some money. I can, and that's my personal opinion. That would be my vote in the future. So I would greenlight any initiatives the board has in effect to get us closer to where we were 15 years ago. And I realize it has to be done incrementally. Not real sexy, but I think incremental is the way you should things. And it makes a lot of people unhappy, but they tend to stick longer than mass changes. So that's where I'm at, and I would support a study on how to create outside work. I'm not there. I'm not saying that's something that we're doing in the next year, quite frankly. I look at the economy, I look at life, I look at hiring, I look at employment, and we are where we are. That's mine. So it might be a little, that's consensus is, I agree with probably what was said when I wasn't here, but I am a little bit different in that I am in support of county spending some money there.
Thank you for that. Any comments? Controller Moser, we can't really see you, so I'm trusting, do you have any other comments on this?
No, I have nothing additional right now.
Okay. All right. So we appreciate the presentation, Warden. Again, recommendation and consensus is to not move forward with any construction. Again, if there are opportunities that you see from around the state, around the country, that we could maybe look at implementing here, again, I think we're open to that. I think there's always a willingness and open to that.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to also add that I believe there's going to be a discussion on an item on our next Criminal Justice Advisory Board that may have the opportunity to expand outdoor programming here in the
Absolutely.
correctional facility as part of the.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, so we have a consensus with that. We will move forward with that. We appreciate everybody's comments today. Thank you. We will keep the dialogue going. And again, as we have other ideas and suggestions that we can implement, we will make them available. And again, as you all have other examples of facilities within Pennsylvania or outside Pennsylvania that are implementing changes in our current, similar to us, please share them with us, and we will consider them. Okay, thank you. We will now go to our next section of monthly reports, and we will turn it over to Karen Hall.
Thank you. I just have a couple of updates to share. First, we are hosting a reentry simulation on Thursday, December 8th, here in the community room.
I think we have to go back to the slide. Sorry, Karen.
That's okay.
So the simulation has been something we've been planning, and after some of us attended one in the spring of this year, and we thought it would be a good idea for the Reentry Coalition to try to host one here in the county. So we're going to do that. I don't know the exact number of participants we have signed up so far. Jessica's tracking it. I think we're up to about 25 participants, and we have, I think, somewhere around 16 to 17 volunteers. Those are individuals who've already participated in a simulation before, so they kind of know how it goes. So yes, that's going to be Thursday, December 8th from 1 to 4 roughly here in the community room. And I have flyers if anyone would like them. But we've encouraged the other departments within the county to send their staff to participate if they're able to. So we've shared this at our department staff meeting last Friday.
So I think it'll be nice for some of the other departments to participate in this exercise. There's that. The word didn't mention, but the ORAS training as part of the JAG grant is occurring this month, November 21st and 22nd. It's 2 days. The trainer is flying in from out of state and will be training treatment staff here at the correctional facility and then some of our probation officers in that risk needs assessment tool. That was delayed because of COVID, but, and I just got an email confirmation that our training materials have been shipped. So those are sent ahead of time here to the jail so that they have them in preparation for the training. So that will complete the last piece of that grant, which will end December 31st. And then continuation of that grant starts January 1. And those funds are slightly less than the original award, but that will fund Daniel Fox's position for another year and almost all of her benefits. And then the last is I just want to give an update on our overdose death numbers within the county. Currently, at last record from the coroner's office, we had 8 confirmed drug overdose deaths and 1 pending toxicology results, which is most likely going to be confirmed alcohol overdose. So we'll be up to 9, which is considerably lower than last year. We still have a month and a half left in this calendar year, but that is lower than last year's total. So we'll see how that ends. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Any questions for Carrie? Comments, please.
What is a simulation activity?
So it's an exercise where individuals gain insight into what it's like for someone to re-enter back into society. So it's obviously you can't, adequately depict that for anyone, but it is a simulation. So you typically do 4 weeks, and each week is like 15 minutes, and you're given tasks that you have to accomplish, and you're also given whatever resources you have. You kind of are given a character role. When I completed it, I was very fortunate. I had all 3 forms of identification, and that was like the golden ticket right there, because you were able to do so much more. There was people that had funds, but they didn't have any bus tickets, so they didn't have transportation, so they couldn't, it just kind of stimulates those frustrations, and I think it's very eye-opening to some of the county departments. We had at our last reentry meeting 2 state parole agents that said it is mandatory for the state parole academy that they participate in a simulation before they're, on the job. So 2 of them are going to be our volunteers as well. So it just kind of gives you that insight of what someone's trying to deal with, just a small snapshot.
So they're not formally incarcerated people. They're people who have not been part of the criminal justice in their own personal lives.
Who are participating? It
Right.
could be either. It could be either.
Okay.
It could be either. It's open to anyone, really. And we have some staff that have signed up, but we also have some individuals that Mr. Moore has referred to us to participate in it. So it could be either. Honestly, it's open to anyone, and like our commissioners are hopefully going to attend, and kind of just go through the whole exercise and see if we can eliminate some of those barriers. To make things a little bit easier.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we will see if the Prison Society has any updates for us today.
Just one update. We are delighted that we're going back in person. We're hoping to schedule some holiday activities in person here in connection with Director Height and the work that he does. So pretty excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Centerpiece, Kathy. We'll turn it with you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be brief. Centerpiece is very happy to be involved with 3 different programs that are going on currently at the correctional facility. I would like to second an early comment made, I think, by Commissioner Higgins. Thank you for the trainees, the number of trainees that we're getting from the correctional facility. That means a tremendous amount, why we do what we do. And lastly, I just wanted to thank this this group of people. I will be stepping down from Centerpiece as the executive director due to a health issue. As I'm saying this, it was just a little over 3 years ago that Tom Brewster stepped down due to a health issue. So it's not a bad rap on Centerpiece, absolutely. It's just I have been diagnosed with ALS, so it's time for me to take a step back. I know the board will do everything they need to do to get a qualified, engaged, and passionate person in as the executive director. Thank you.
Kathy, we send you as much love and comfort that we can. We loved working with you. You've taken the organization to new heights, and it's certainly, we will certainly miss you here at our meetings. You're always welcome to attend virtually, but certainly understand that you need to focus on other things right now. So we appreciate you and your positivity you always bring to life. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll continue to attend until a replacement is named. So.
Thank you, Kathy, and I think I speak for everybody and how much we appreciate your dedication to not only the mission of Centerpiece, but the mission of this organization. Also, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kathy, Bernie, Sean talks about Centerpiece all the time, Sean McGraw. And, you know, you seamlessly came in, took that job, and the actual operations of Centerpiece are exponentially increased, and those, just the opportunity, you know, and the funds provides opportunities for Centerpiece to further expand its core mission and really help folks re-enter and put together their lives. And so, you know, I think you created an opportunity for Centerpiece to expand what they've done in the past and take it to places where it probably wasn't even, it wasn't even on their radar that you could do what you could do. So, you know, on behalf of everyone here, thank you very much, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. So sorry to hear of your diagnosis, and excuse me, as Bernie was saying, we've seen wonderful new programming come out of Centerpiece that's really helped improve things for the returning citizens and the wider community. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help out.
Thank you. I appreciate it, everyone.
With that, those monthly reports, we will now see if there's any announcements. Warden Denise. Okay. Again, we'll be meeting December 8th, Thursday, December 8th at 8 a.m. And we are going to be keeping it hybrid for the time being. So please, we look forward to seeing you all at 8 a.m. in about a month. Thank you all very much. We'll look for a motion to adjourn. Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned. Thank you all.